Hello everyone, let's get started in the SQL training from this lecture. Once you start the MySQL workbench, this is the interface you can see. If you want to access to the MySQL database, click the local instance you set up according to the developer guide. Before that, I want to introduce the example project. Let's take a look at the example. I want to create a database called MySite. Inside of this database, I have two tables. The first table is to record the customer's information. This table is called customers. I want to give each customer a unique ID. I want to record each customer's first name, last name, phone number, and address, mailing address. The second table is called customer orders. Once a customer places an order on my e-commerce website, I want to give each transaction an order ID. And then I want to record the customer's ID number. I want to differentiate who ordered what. In this data record, I also want to record the product name and the price per product and the quantity the customer ordered in this transaction. These are the two table structures. In this lecture, I want to talk about how to create such a database called MySite. And then I want to show you how to build the two tables. Then I want to record the data information, the customer data information, the order information into each table. This is what we want to complete in this lecture. Let's go to MySQL workbench. Let's click local instance. This is the interface you can see. Two areas are very important. The first area is the script area. We'll write the SQL script in the area in the middle. The second area is schemas. A schema is a collection of database information. It has database name, data tables, data records. The schema area is in the bottom left in the interface. As you can see here, I have already built some databases. They are listed under the schemas area. Once we build a new database, the new database will also be listed under the schemas area. Let's build our database. You should be able to see a blank script page in the middle of the software. If you cannot see the script page, simply click the Create a New SQL Script button. This button is in the top left corner of your software, right below File. Click this New SQL Script button, and then you will be able to see a blank page show up in the middle of the software. When we want to build a new database, we want to use the create database command from SQL. Let me type it in. Create database. After database, type in the name you want to give to this new database. My project is called MySite, so I want to call this database MySite. Let's type in MySite, and then a semicolon. Here you need to pay attention to 3 points. The first one is, in MySQL, the SQL comments are not case sensitive, which means create in lowercase is as same as create in uppercase. So if you type in create in uppercase, SQL will understood the uppercase create as same as create in lowercase. So pay attention to this one. SQL is not case sensitive in MySQL. Second, if the comments are predefined by the SQL software, they will be listed in blue color. As you can see, create and database are in blue color, right? This means these two comments are predefined by the MySQL software. You cannot use the predefined keywords as the variable name. Let's say you want to call your database order. Let's type in order. And then you find out order is in blue color. That means order is a keyword predefined by the MySQL software. You cannot use it as your database name. You must change something new, like my site. My site is not in blue color, right? My site is in black color. That means you can use my site as your database name. In the future, you need to create table names as well. Once you type in the table name, if the table name is also in blue color, that means the name you want conflicts with the predefined keyword in the software. If the name is in blue, you cannot use it. That is the keyword predefined by the software. You must create something new to name the table. As long as the name is in black color, you can use it. Otherwise, you will conflict with the predefined keyword. This is the second point you want to pay attention to. Very important. The third point you want to know is if you finish writing a statement, a comment, you want to conclude the statement by a semicolon, as you can see over here. A semicolon. This is just a convention. You don't have to do it in MySQL. You probably need to use the semicolon to conclude a statement in other software. In MySQL, it's optional, but I still want you to use the semicolon. The reason is you can use the semicolon to separate the current statement with the new statement. It will be more clear for you to manage the SQL statement. These are the 3 points you want to pay attention to. Once you finish writing the statement, you can execute the statement. It's very easy. Just click the yellow lightning bolt on top of the statement, as you can see here, the lightning bolt. Let's click it. And then in the output window, you will see a message. It shows create a database my site, one row affected. That means your database is already established in the MySQL server. Now you can start building tables inside of this database. Let's remove the current statement. Let's start building tables. First, we want to build the customers table. In this table, we have 5 columns: customer ID, customer first name, customer last name, customer phone, and customer address. Notice that the column names have no space, no special symbol, just the letters. Let's build this table. Let's go to the script page and then type in create table. This is the comments we want to use when we build a new table. And then we type in the table name. It's called the customers. Next, we want to type in a set of parentheses. And then between the parentheses, let's move the month in the between of the parentheses. Press enter. And then press enter again. Let's create a new line. Inside of the parentheses, we want to type in the structure of this table. First, we want to type in each column name. Let's type in cust ID space. In cust ID, let's take a look at cust ID. We hold the customer's ID numbers, right? ID numbers are all positive integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So we have to specify the type of values this cust ID column can hold. They are integers. Let's go back to the software and then type in int. This means in the cust ID column, we will only hold the integer value. Since customer ID is the primary key column, we must give each customer an ID number. There is no empty value for this column, so we need to type in not null. Null is a computer science way of saying empty. Then not null means for each customer, we must have a customer ID. In the future, if somebody else use our data table and he forgets to give an ID number to a customer, then the not null comments we specified here will give an error message to show him to give the ID number to the new customer. This is the function of not null. Next, let's take a look at the customer ID. When we have a new customer, the ID will automatically increase by 1. We can use some SQL comment to execute this function as well. It's called auto increment. Let's go back to here and then type in auto underscore increment. Another nice feature of MySQL is if you type in several letters of a comment, the software will give you the full name of this comment, like the one auto underscore increment, as you can see here. Let's click auto underscore increment. Let's select this. Double click on the comment. Auto underscore increment. In the future, when we have a new customer, the database will automatically increase the ID number by 1 and then give the larger ID number to the new customer. This is the setup we need to establish for cust ID. We have finished this statement. Notice that inside of the parentheses, we shouldn't use a semicolon. We should use a comma to separate the current statement from the following statement, a comma. This is used inside of the parentheses. Let's create a new statement. Next, we want to build the customer first name. Let's type in the column name. It should be cust first name. Obviously, in the first name column, we need to record the texture data. So we need to use the varchar type. Varchar represents variable characters. After varchar, we need to type in another set of parentheses. And between the parentheses, let's type in 100. And then let's type in a comma after the ending parentheses. What does varchar 100 mean? We already know the customer name will be recorded as a texture data. So we specify the first name as a characters type or texture type. Varchar means we are not sure for each customer how many letters we'll be using in the database. But we specify 100. That means in each cell under customer's first name column, we can record a maximum of 100 letters for the customer's first name. This is what the varchar 100 mean. We can do the same for the last name column. Let's create a new line and then type in cust last name. And then let's type in varchar 100. And then a comma after the ending parentheses. This means we will record all customers' last names as a texture data because we specify the character type. But we are not sure how many spaces we'll be using in the database. So we specify 100. This means in each cell of the last name column, we can record up to 100 letters for each customer's last name. This is the last name column. Next, we need to record the phone number. Let's take a look at the column name. It's called the cust phone. Cust phone. Even though the phone numbers are numbers, in database, we usually record them as texture data. The reason is sometimes we need to add a small dash between numbers. Small dash cannot be recorded as integer or other numerical value. We must record the values with small dash as texture data. So let's use varchar. Obviously, phone numbers are not taking up to 100 positions in the database, so we don't need to specify 100 for this varchar. We can shrink the number a little bit. Let's use up to 20 characters. to record each customer's phone number. And then a comma. Last one will be the address column. Cast address. Let's use VCHAR. In address column, we need to use a lot of spaces to record a customer's mailing address. Sometimes the mailing address could be very long, so let's use up to 200 characters. And then a comma after the ending parentheses. We almost finished the data structure building. The last one is we need to specify which column is the primary key column. This is very important. So let's create a new statement. Let's type in primary key and then parentheses. Between parentheses, between the inner parentheses, we need to specify the name of the column we want to use as a primary key. It should be cast ID. This is how you specify which column will be used as a primary key column. Next, in the outer parentheses, we need to type in a semicolon. This is how you create a data table by using SQL commands. Before you execute this statement, you must do one more thing. You must tell the software for which database this data table is being built. The way is to use the use command. Let's go to the beginning of create. Let's click the beginning of create and then press the enter key on your keyboard. Let's create a new empty line. And then let's type in use my site and then semicolon. Use means I want to use my site database. And then the software is able to understand the new table customers is being built for the my site database. Then in the future, inside of the software, customers will be saved into the my site database. Now we can execute the statement. Let's just click the lightning bolt. And then you will be able to see the output message. Create the table customers, 0 rows affected. And then the duration of the execution, you will see a check sign. This means this command is executed without any error. Now some classmates may be curious about the database and the data table we just built. How can I find it? As I said, we need to look for the database information in the schemas area. As you can see here, in the lower left corner of the software, schemas. Currently, you cannot see the database my site. The reason is schemas are not automatically updated. You must click the refresh button, as you can see here. Two rotating arrows. Click the refresh button. And then you will be able to see my site show up under schemas. If you want to see the data table, you will see tables, right? Click the little triangle next to tables, and then you will be able to see customers. If you click this little triangle next to customers, you will see columns. If you want to know what columns are inside of the customers table, click the little triangle next to custom columns, and then you will see all columns we just built up. This is how you use a schema. If you want to close all this information, just click the little triangle next to my site, and then all this information will be folded. We have finished the customers table building. Next, let's save this script. Let's click the save button on top of the script. Let me create a new folder to hold my projects. Let's go to desktop, it's easier to find. And then create a new folder. Let's call this SQL project. And then create another new folder. Let's call this my site. And then in the file name, let's type in customers table. This means we use this script to create a table called customers. Let's click Save. Next, let's build the order information, the customer order information. Basically, we can copy the comments here. Make a copy, and then let's create a new script. Let's click the Create New SQL Script button, and then paste the comments into the new script. Let's just modify some table name, the column name, and then modify some key features of the columns, and then we will be able to build the order information table. The table name is called Customer Orders. We have 5 columns: Order ID, Cust ID, Product Name, Per Price, and Quantity. Let's go back to the software. First, let's change the table name from Customers to Customer Orders. And then the first column inside of the order table is Order ID. So let's change the first column name to Order ID. Order ID still holds the integer type values, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We specify the data type as integer. It's not null, and also it's auto increment, and then a comma. The second one we want to hold is called Cust ID. Cust ID. Instead of virtual, we need to use integer to record the customer ID, right? So let's specify integer. For this one, you can also specify not null, but it's not required because customer ID is not a primary key in the order table, as we mentioned in the lecture before, right? So it's not necessary to specify not null. Let's take a look at the third column. It's a product name. Let's change the column name to product name. Let's use virtual and use 100. We need to use up to 100 characters to describe a product name. Next, it's per price. Let's change the column name to per price. Per price is a little different from previous columns. Let's take a look at the price. We have some integer price, but we do have some real numbers, right? We have some decimal points in the price. This type of data is called float type. Let me type it in. Let's remove virtual and then type in float. Float means real numbers with decimal points. And then the last column is quantity, quant. Let's remove cast address and then change it to quant. Quantity, we can only use integer type, right? So let's type in int. The primary key for the new table is not cust ID anymore. It should be order ID. So inside of the parentheses, let's specify order ID as the primary key. And then we can execute these new comments. Also, notice that we use the use my site. This means the new table customer orders is being built for the my site database. Let's click the lightning bolt icon to execute this statement. You find that in the output window, we have another message with a check sign. That means our statements are executed without any problem. Now we can save this statement. Let's click the Save button. Let's save it as a customer order table. And then press Enter to save this statement. Now we finish the second table building.